Hi everybody! Today we have another lecture and the topic is profession-specific physical training of specialists. Define what's the difference between profession-specific physical training and general physical education. Physical education activities generally develop skills, abilities and conditions that allows students, children and young adults to participate not only in different kinds of sport but also in a variety of everyday activities. Physical education lay foundation for enhanced functioning of organism systems, so it make us much more healthier, feel better every day. We have an enhanced immune system and other benefits by applying generally physical education. Also, physical education teach us students, children, young adults of general knowledge of healthy lifestyle, of sport technique, nutrition, stress management and sport-related injuries prevention. So the main difference between general physical education and profession-specific physical training is that the later one prepare us for our professional life, to perform our working tasks in a higher level, and at the same time prevent us from occupational injuries. Occupational injuries, as you know from previous lecture, means that diseases, chronic diseases or some acute health issues like a trauma happens on a working place. So by knowing and by following instructions, we could prevent us from this negative side of work. But also profession-specific physical training can enhance our physical abilities to stay away from troubles such as a trauma or injuries, by applying exercise set that reflect demands of specific professional positions. For example, if we are working on a plant, so we have a lot of physical workload. We dealing with weight that we should lift and transport, for example. That means that we should have a muscle mass with the hypertrophy and enhanced in order to resist a workload, and this could actually not only enhance working productivity but also maintain our health status. Here on the slide we can see the features of activity defining professional applied physical training of students and health related specialists. And we start from the top. First cell represents motor activity, which is low, like a sitting posture is uncomfortable, static load on the muscles of the body, local load on the muscles of the hands and fingers. It's representative for office workers, librarians and other staff, usually those who work with some intellectual work and with statistics, account keeping and so on. Also here we can find other components such as a physical component that includes overall performance, keeping the working posture sitting, the frequency of the macro movements of the fingers. So again, the sedentary lifestyle and work occupation where we are predominantly work only in a sitting position, of course it brings to us hyperdynamy, and this lack of movement actually could induce some health related issues. So for this kind of physical preparation and professional specific training, we should apply some instructions and specific knowledge how to balance a working day. For people who are working predominantly with a low physical activity, should be introduced rest periods, not so long but quite enough for performing a set of physical exercises, and these exercises should maintain the overall physical activity level on the certain position that could provide the organism with necessary blood circulation, breathing rate, and maintenance of metabolic reactions in order to stay healthy. If we will go a little bit further, so we can find out that professionally important physical conditions could be could cover overall endurance, static endurance and strength of back muscles, abdominal muscles, neck muscles, and also sleight of hand and strength endurance of the shoulder girdle. And this is a actual for office workers, for example. Overall endurance, of course they are not runners, not sport athletes, but overall endurance is necessary because this kind of stamina equals to physical working capacity. That means how much work can be done and with a particular quality of the work. And this is important for all of us. Whatever we are doing, the quality should be high enough. It's not always that we can produce 100% quality output, but we could push the percentage of this quality to the maximal side, and this progress depends on our conditioning, for example our overall endurance. That means that despite of predominantly sedentary working conditions, we should develop our overall endurance in leisure time out of our work by performing some simple or more sophisticated exercises. Simple exercises could include walking, jogging, running, bicycling, swimming, and others. And more sophisticated could include gym attendance and working with some machines. Some of them are quite simple, organized, but quite of them are probably more computerized or with digital software, more sophisticated. I think both alternatives are good enough, and probably the combination of those two is the best solution for bring novelty and motivation for our workouts. So Actually, overall endurance means that we are involved in quite a long set exercising, and sometimes it could look like a boring activity, but introducing a novelty element, we can produce a motivation and interest in these activities, so it could bring joy for our training. It was mentioned also that we require static endurance and strength of back muscles, abdominal muscles and neck muscles if we are working predominantly sedentary, like office workers. Why should we develop in our free time, leisure time, this kind of static endurance? And again, overall endurance and static endurance, they are not completely different conditions. Actually, developing overall endurance, we build a solid basis for our static endurance. And by the way, overall endurance make our organisms more resistant to fatigue, and improve our ability to recover faster. So our static endurance depends a lot on our present overall endurance. And static endurance, for example, of back muscles need for maintenance of a good posture when we are sitting, for example, because if our posture is not correct, it could actually induce some pain feelings, and our organs could work not as they are supposed to work, and blood circulation will be also restricted partially, and again this phenomenon could induce also some digestive system problems. And probably you know that sitting blood circulation on low extremities also could be limited, and it also could induce some negative health-related issues. Increasing static endurance of back muscles also could prevent us from some serious injuries. For example, if we are falling on the street, probably because it's slippery, icy, and by falling we can actually damage our spine or some components of our spinal cord. But increasing static endurance and enhancing muscle tone of back muscles, we can actually build a safeguarding system of our spinal cord, because spinal cord is equally important as our central nervous system and our brain. So head and spinal cord should be defended, and our spine could be defended by increasing muscle tone and developed back muscles. Neck muscles and abdominal muscles, of course, are equally important, because abdominal muscles allow us to maintain a proper positioning for a longer period of time, as well as neck muscles. And again, during our leisure time, for example, participating in different activities, not necessarily sport activities, or sometimes it could be too risky. For example, if it's slippery, and the risk of falling down and probably get an injury this opportunity could be diminished by developing static endurance of neck muscles, abdominal muscles, and back muscles, especially low back muscles, because as abdominal muscles and on the other side of our trunk, low back muscles should be developed equally because of intermuscular coordination, such as muscle antagonists and agonists. So these two groups should be developed. Height of hand and strength endurance of the shoulder girdle is also quite important. If we have a sedentary work position predominantly, so how quickly and with what quality we are working with our hands, our fingers, are we tapping on the keyboard, performing some operations on the in the office. Our shoulder girdle also quite important, because we should demonstrate both flexibility of our shoulder joints, but also endurance of local endurance of delta muscles that surround our shoulder joints and form a shoulder girdle. And note occasionally here on this figure, first of these three abilities is overall endurance, because this kind of stamina positively affect the endurance of hands and our shoulder muscles. Developing overall endurance, we lay solid foundation for static endurance and local endurance of muscles like shoulder muscles. So it's very rewarding to maintain our overall endurance. And another issue is that our immune system responsiveness could be quite enhanced if we maintain our physical working capacity on a regular basis. So our metabolic reactions, the rate of their progress is high enough to maintain the immune system in a good state. So if we have a good stamina, scientifically we are less we have a less chance to catch a cold, get a chill, and miss our working days because of illness. And on the other hand, having high enough stamina, overall endurance, we can perform our work much more better and quicker, and we can focus more on the quality of our work. And in order to have a training focused on the overall and static endurance, we should have a professional specific training knowledge, and have information about methods and exercises that we can apply in order to achieve this goal. And this highlights the necessity of not only having a practical exercising for maintenance endurance, but also theory, a learning process, because if we apply our thoughts, and try to organize and manage our training, and we are able to design and build our training set that is more precise for our physical demands, sometimes for our mental and psychological demands, because physical training, it's not only physical workouts, it also some psychological relief, and actually it's entertainment. It should be entertainment, joy on the leisure time, spending it with a team or working individually on your endurance. It's quite a joyful activity. So it's also theory, and by learning these methods and practicing and getting this unique experience, it's a good investment in our overall health. So we can not only enhance our endurance, overall or static ones, but also we actually build our mindset, build our ability for self-discipline, build our self-esteem, and build our overall attitude to any activity that we are trying to involve in. So again, professional specific training actually increases our working qualities. Just imagine if you are applying for a vacant position on a company with a high salary and high enough expectations from their workers and the candidates for this work. Of course, if you will mention on a resume that you spend your leisure time performing some workouts, and the goal of this training, not only leisure time spending and having fun, but more importantly, for the purpose of increase your overall endurance and static endurance of specific muscle groups, and you know for what reason these muscle groups are important. I think you as a candidate will be high rated and significantly increase your chance to get the job position. So this is quite important when the worker not physically prepared for a specific working conditions, but actually intellectually and mentally prepared with a particular mindset and ability of goal setting. It's quite an important issue that should be taken in account. And another part of occupational specifics is job positions that require from candidates preparedness for high emotional tension, responsibility for decisions, solving issues of varying complexity, perception of signals with subsequent comparison of actual and nominal values of parameters, and working conditions of time deficit. It requires some psychological component development. And this part of professional specific training could include not only physical preparation, such abilities as endurance, strength, and flexibility, agility, but also development of coordination capacities. And by coordination capacities we mean the ability of an individual to adapt in a restricted time limit to constantly changing environment or situation. Development, coordination, agility, and other skills, even sport-related skills, could be quite important for solving issues of varied complexity in direct communication with people, on a working place. For example, the process of playing a game, communication with the teammates, playing while playing in volleyball team, for example, it's a good experience and quite rewarding in order to enhance ability to find the way in different situations and solve the problems. Professional specific training could lead to enhancement of the ability to deal of the workers to deal with the number of objects of simultaneous observation, and it could lead to operationalizing with important professional and mental tasks. And again, depending on the occupational tasks and working specific, it could be developed not only physical preparedness but also some psychological abilities to deal with the work specific demands. Also communication and organizational skills that are necessary for cooperation could be developed during professional specific physical training. It could develop the ability to organize and to manage different situations, develop skills, logical thinking, memory, and ability to switching from one activity to another, and concentration and attention also could be trained and developed. And all these cognitive skills, including experience, is rewarding in some working positions. For you as a future doctors or physicians, it's equally important and actual to develop ability to not only to have a overall endurance and static endurance and development of other physical skills like strength, endurance, and flexibilities, but also to develop ability to focus, to be coordinative, developed specialist, to have ability to communicate with your co-workers, to communicate with patients, to be able to organize and manage your area, your office, and organizational skills could be acquired, for example, when you are in the team, because sport games, it's one of the best option to develop communicative skills. It teach actually how to be social, how to find out the best way to communicate, and actually emotional part could be also be there, could be included. Professional specific physical training, it deals not necessarily only with athletes or sportsmen or with the students who have a above average physical fitness level, but generally professional specific physical training could be implemented by everybody, by each individual, each person. And the main point is that professional specific physical training should reflect from one side the requirements of specific working position, and on the other hand it should reflect demands of the worker, of the candidate for this kind of work. And this demand should be adequate. That means that individual should have a certain level of physical fitness, including overall endurance, static endurance, and strength of, for example, back muscles, abdominal muscles, neck muscles, developed overall ability to manage working tasks, because on the working place it could be not necessary static situational pattern, but it could be constantly a changing situation. For example, for you as a future doctors, you can meet changing situation when one day it could be no patients at all, and the clinic is kind of in clinic is a kind of normal routine, but on the other day it could be quite a lot of visitors and people with trauma, or when it's winter time with people who catch the cold or chill, or flu patients, and so on. So in order to deal with these kind of unpredictable situations, professional should have a good ability and psychological attitude, mindset to be ready to solve the problems and organize him or herself, or organize the team, the co-workers also. Professional specific physical training is especially important in the team who work with emergency situations. And for example, if the physician or paramedics are calling to transport the medical equipment and be transported themselves to a series of patients, it requires quite a lot of not only physical stamina but also psychological stress resistance. And by professional specific physical training could be formed stress management skills and developed in the way that emergency situation could be met with adequate effort of the professionals. It's important to pay attention for some of the necessary components of physical part of professional specific training. First of all, as it's a strengthening of the core muscles. As we said before, static endurance and strength of back muscles, abdominal muscles, and neck muscles is necessary, but more precisely we should highlight such muscle groups as hip flexors, gluteus medius and minimus, abdominals, obliquus, and of course lower back muscles. Because while on the job, these muscles assist with movements that involve in bending, reaching, pulling, pushing, and twisting. And also those muscle groups also play a critical role in keeping lower back free from injury, which is essential in physically demanding job. And since this type of work often requires standing while doing a lot of twisting and lifting heavy loads, a strong midsection of the body, actually the trunk itself, is necessary. That's why strengthening core muscles is so important. Training of the core does not require any equipment actually. By the way, you can do it anywhere and anytime. It's not necessary to go to gym to strengthen the core body muscles. You can work with your own weight, performing abs or squats. It's a good exercises and very rewarding for enhancing local strength endurance. These exercises can actually help keep the muscles around the spine strong and more resistant to injury, because the spinal cord is a very vulnerable part of the body, but it's very critical to keep it safeguard and increasing muscle tone and muscle strength surrounding spinal cord, strengthening muscle groups that form the core body. It could be one of the best options, not only to be successful on the job, for example, where we are working predominantly manually, lifting loads and so on, but also to protect our body, our spine from some serious injuries. And we could define some very simple exercises without any additional equipment or necessity to go to the gym, but they very efficient to increase our strength endurance of those particular muscle groups. And the first one is a simple plank, another one is a side plank, dead bug, and Superman. I suppose you already know this exercise, and back bridge. But anyway, even participation in yoga or Pilates classes could be rewarding, and you can get the profit of these classes in the way that your core body muscle could be stimulated for strength, endurance, and development. And those workouts can help relieve some of the tightness in the hips and lower back that often happens as a result of carrying heavy loads. So that means that, of course, hard work when we are working manual, and transporting some heavy loads require a lot of energy. But participation in yoga or Pilates classes actually could facilitate our recovery, so we could recover faster after this work. Another aspect of the professional specific physical training is the strengthening of the heart or cardiovascular system. That means that constant wear and tear of the body can cause ashes and pains that interfere with performance on the job. It also influences our decision to exercise at the end of a very hard day, heavy day. That's why finding the time and energy to balance fitness with a job that is tiring and demanding requires a realistic approach to working out. And cardiovascular or aerobic exercise, such as running, swimming, cycling, or using cardio equipment at the gym, can actually supplement fitness routine, but it doesn't need to be the main focus. If we are covering a lot of ground at work, such as getting plenty of steps in, performing hours of cardio is not a good use of the time, because we spend a lot of time and energy at our workplace, of course, so we are empty. We do not have necessary resources to perform cardio training. It's obvious. But by focusing on getting in a few days of aerobic exercise in the form of sports or other physical activity that gets our heart pumping, could actually help to reduce blood pressure, improve blood sugar level or glucose level, reduce bad cholesterol, that means LDL cholesterol. I'm sure you know what's the difference between bad and good kinds of cholesterol. LDL cholesterol reducing, improving sleep, and reducing feelings of stress. So aerobic training or cardio training is kind of rewarding, not only in a physical area but also in a psychological too, because it allows us to get a psychological relief and reduce feelings of stress. Also, it's necessary in professional specific physical training, strengthening the major muscle groups and smaller stabilizing muscles that help prevent injury, and resistance training are focusing on those muscle groups. A lot of manual labor jobs come with a certain amount of repetitive stress, and exercise often gets overlooked as a solution. But many of these jobs cause a significant amount of stress, and the muscles, bones, and joints are met as stimuli. Planning professional specific physical training, it's necessary to perform full body workouts that focus on major muscle groups such as legs, glutes, back, chest, shoulders, arms, and core. And the training designed for a week could include 2 to 3 days on non-consecutive days. That means that there is 24 or 48 or 72 hours between the trainings. Depending on the physical requirements on the job, it could be adjusted moderate weight and repetitions amount rather than higher weight and lower repetition. So that means intensity is low but volume is above average. So moderate intensity, moderate workload. And the aim should be complete 2 sets of 10 to 15 repetitions for each exercise. And for all body workout could be applied simple exercises such as squats, lunges, push-ups, rows, shoulder presses, biceps curls, triceps push downs. But in the process of choosing a particular exercise, there is necessity to choose a particular factor, including time, finances, and access to a gym or a fitness facility, because sometimes those factors are quite a challenge. So the simpler the exercises, the more probability that they could be implemented in the professional specific physical training. Also, this type of training should include the time for stretching. To round out overall fitness routine, stretching and or flexibility training should be included. And as you already know, I think there are two types of stretching: dynamic and static. And dynamic stretching is typically done at the beginning of a workout, since it helps increase blood flow, loosens up muscles and joints, and warms up the body for physical activity. Static stretching is often part of cool down at the end of workout, since the body is warm. Dynamic stretching include hip swings, standing trunk rotations, arm circles. Also, it should be said that in addition to stretching before and after workout, curving out 15 minutes 2 to 3 days a week for low back stretches can make a significant difference in daily activity by reducing low back pain. It's a very important issue because actually poor technique by performing some operational actions on the work could lead to some muscle cramps and or low back pain. It's a very spread health-related issue, and in order to reduce the probability of low back pain by workers, it could be performed some simple exercises like a lying knee twist, pelvic tilt, cat-cow stretch, and piriformis seated stretch. Professional specific physical training also introduce the theory classes that teach students to manage their free time, leisure time, because it's quite important to choose the right time for workouts. Is it for strength endurance workout or for stretching, for flexibility? We should always keep it in mind that people are working, students will work, for example, 5 days a week or 6 days a week, and there are not so much free time. And fitness is definitely not a activity for every day in this case, because when we are trying to work out, it should be based on the time of day that our body feels the best and we are mentally ready to tackle a workout. Some people feel better and more active in the morning before actually heading to work. Others may need the adrenaline boost later in the day. finding the time that works for you will require some actually experimenting, and by this experimenting you will get necessary experience and will more precisely choose the right time. Also, it could be useful to stick with a schedule for at least a week before deciding it is not going to work or is it working. And this will give you enough time to let your body adjust to a different routine. And now let's talk about the importance of sleep, because this combination of working life and training, physical training, or like as a yoga or swimming or Pilates classes, require recovery, and the recovery is one of the top priorities that should be taken into account by any worker. So getting enough sleep each night is essential for everybody. And not only does a restful night of quality sleep recharge and facilitate recovery, but it can also improve concentration, productivity, and immune function. And if, for example, we are giving 8 to 10 hours a day at work, and even if we additionally find time to go to the gym to perform a workout, then getting adequate rest at night is essential. It's a priority. And how much sleep do we need for optimal health depends. It depends on a lot of factors, including, for example, how strenuous, how hard our work, and what tasks are present at this work, and what is our lifestyle. Actually, most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. This includes the minimum and the maximum amount of hours of sleep required for optimal health. Professional specific physical training actually teach additionally how to stay self-disciplined, how to organize daily routine in order to achieve not one but several goals. One goal could be working, professional career. Another goal could be some private interests. Another one could be sport participation or playing volleyball with friends, for example, 2 to 3 times a week. And all these factors should be evaluated and adjusted in order to get it done in a balance that achieving one goal will not contradict to achieving another one. Because if we use our resources to an empty level, that means it could be some health-related negative issues like cardiovascular system malfunction. It could be reducing of productivity, concentration, and actually immune function will not be at the best level. So many a lot of days could be actually spent in the clinic, for example, if we dismanage our daily routine. interesting question is why we still need to exercise, to have workouts, even if we, for example, move a lot at work, and or we have a hard manual work. And it should be mentioned three aspects. The first one is that despite actually the health benefits of movement, for example at our work, people who have very physical jobs actually have high cardiovascular diseases risks. So it's obvious, and it's actually the fact. And also recent study highlights this paradox, and they give the explanation that occupational movement isn't the same as traditional exercise. We will discuss it later. And the third aspect is that even short exercise sessions can make a big difference in counteracting this paradox. So operations on the workplace usually all the same. So there are very limited amount of movements, actions that the worker undertake to achieve a particular outcome. And of course it could be dozens or hundreds repetitions of these limited exercises each day, but this does not satisfy organism needs for movement, and some physiological mechanisms are not involved in those movements. That's why it's strongly recommended to find out 2 to 3 days a week when worker could devote some time to cardio or aerobic training, for example, or for stretching. It's also very important, especially for lower back muscles. Even although it would seem that moving all day on a workplace would be an adequate replacement for structured exercise, actually the opposite appears to be true. That means that it's actually a lack of movement, even if the worker moved all the day on the work, because of the restrictions and limited or amount or the structure or the intensity of the exercises. It could be supplied for bringing the balance. For example, walking briskly with moderate intensity to a working place and from the working place, or bike riding also can supplement the working day and actually spare some time, because traveling to a working place and after the job is done, traveling home could be performed using some traditional movements, traditional exercises like brisk walking or bicycling. Those activities increase heart rate and improve cardiovascular fitness, and probably moving outdoor when the air maybe is not so polluted as, for example, on the working place, could bring actually facilitating the recovery and organism oxygenation and enhancement of metabolic reactions and some metabolic stuff utilization and the immune system function enhancement. For people with highly physical jobs, it sometimes can feel overwhelming to add regular exercise into their weekly schedules, and that may add even more actual demotivation to the physical to stay physically active. But by thinking and trying to organize the everyday schedule and having knowledge about how to stay healthy and physically active and balance physical activity between on the working place and at the leisure time, actually could maintain the health status and protect organism from some health professional related injuries or diseases. Another option to bring balance in the working conditions is changing or combining work tasks. That means that putting together a mixture, a blend of different types of movement, if possible, with a mix of lifting, sitting and standing or walking, could actually seems to like too much enhance physical health. But not all workplaces offer that option to make this kind of combination. But if work can be changed up in any way, so it can be helpful. But if it's not possible, we can at least find ways to move during breaks and lunch, and it could be quite useful, because spending this small periods of free time at the workplace by performing walking or playing some, for example, ping pong, actually can facilitate our productivity and also help us to perform stress management and also facilitate blood circulation and maintenance of the fundamental metabolic reaction of our organisms. By the way, this topic is quite practical, and it could be applicable of usage of different examples, because professional specific physical training could include any kind of job, any kind of work tasks that should be performed. But the point is to combine knowledge from different subjects, not only physical education, but also from some medical subjects, biological subjects, or psychological, in order to try to analyze a job, tasks and requirements, and predict what capacities and abilities should be improved or developed in the candidate for this work, in order to be productive on one side and to stay healthy on the another. And a lot of one of the decisive factor in this could be not only physical preparedness, like enhancement of overall endurance and static endurance and strength endurance, but also development of some theoretical experience, that students know how to organize their working daily routine and how to manage stressful situation, and how to protect the organism, and how to stay mindset and motivated with good with high concentration level, and bring balance and harmony in their everyday working routine. After this lesson, you have to go to the control test section and go through questions from one to the another and answer them. As a feedback, your current teacher will evaluate your participation. So if you have any questions, you can communicate with me by sending the personal messages, for example. So this is it. Have a nice day and see you. Bye bye.